Now we're recording. Okay. Hi, MJ.
Hi there.
All right. Let's see, MJ, I think you're the only new arrival, but
Well, I've been here, but I just did the video.
okay. All right, great. So at this point, I guess I'm looking for things people would like to pursue different from the national positions, or maybe augmenting the national positions. I'm not sure.
So can we vote on the first question first?
You bet. Absolutely. Let's vote. Does anybody, I can share my screen and show what we were looking at there. So that's question 2, do we do that? Or sorry, question 1. Let me get back to question 1. You guys can see that, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
I
Okay.
can't. I see something else for Zoom, enhanced Zoom, but I remember the question because I've looked at it enough times.
Okay. So is there any reason why we wouldn't cover these 4 points going forward? And I think what we can do is to say, yes, we like these 4 points, but I'd like to zoom in on one of them and I don't know, make it more local or add more detail to it. But whatever we do as a program, it's got to be backed up by a little local work on it, a study, a group of people that will take it on. And, if it looks like it needs to be enhanced, these things are obviously described in much more detail and impact on issues at the national level. So that research ought to be done if you're thinking about expanding these points here.
Sandy,
Yes.
This is Penny. I think the redistricting, not maybe just this year, but in the next few years in Kansas City is going to be an important issue.
Yes.
There's, as most of us know, there's recommendation for a charter review in Kansas City and looking into adding more districts to our Kansas City. So I think that it would benefit our local one to be in on a paper on the redistricting.
Now, you're talking about city council positions?
City council, yeah.
Right. And I think, of course, what I believe national means here is just general decennial process of redistricting, reassigning House and Senate districts and so forth. And
But I'm talking about for our local.
right. So we're really looking at city council, or we're going to have the 6 + 6 at large or more and so forth.
Mhm.
And so
isn't it I was a little confused and I didn't go back and rewatch, apologies, but I know they are separated out. So 1 year is for national, 1 year is for state, and then is there a third year for local, or is state and local together? Does anybody remember?
what I see is, let's see here.
I think the national and the local are together.
That is correct. And that's what I've got up here on the slide. So that's right. We look at national and local together. So
Okay.
to the extent that we're going to follow these broad 4 points that national is looking for, or particularize them locally, I think we have that option.
Okay, so then the state is like next year.
Yes, right.
Okay.
So we're every other year it
Yeah.
bounces.
Okay, and local goes with national. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I'll take Ann's word for it here. So in any case, on the city council district side, in talking to Ann this morning, or Rita, see Donna and I think Margie were on. There was some discussion about the Urban League and Gwen Grant kind of taking the lead on that. And it became a little bit less of a study and more about getting a vacuum cleaner in the background. I hope you guys can't hear that. No? 1 second.
I was at that session, and I think Donna had suggested, evidently we have a position from way back when that says 6 districts. And Donna was kind of suggesting that we eliminate specifying the districts. And I don't know if she read it and said that it also stated a fair distribution or something like that. So it was about kind of renewing the one that we already had.
Well, also in the city charter, it says 6 districts too. So that's why there's a recommendation to do a charter review.
Right.
And I'm on another committee that's strongly recommending that, and some of us from that council to be on that charter review.
So your work can do double duty.
I can do double duty, yeah.
Well, also in that same city charter area, they said something about those, I guess, that review this charter are nonpartisan and they're appointed rather than elected. I think I got that right. And so my question is, who appoints them?
Yeah.
The mayor typically.
Okay.
Well, as a program item, I think this is coming up a lot, and I think, and what I got from talking to Rita in the discussion that ensued this morning was that that there was some degree of allowing the Urban League, who is apparently fairly deep into this, and Jenny, you probably know this as well, be the lead, and we get into a position of alliance with them. But I don't know that precludes that we have a group that actually does some study work on it or is sort of carved off to work with the Urban League. I'm not sure the mechanics of that, but as a topic, it seems to be something that is garnering a lot of attention from us in the league. So
Yeah.
I think
Just an FYI, somebody mentioned today, I think it was Donna, that the African-American community is well represented, but the Hispanic community is the one that has been divided or whatever. So they're not being as well represented.
that's true. Yeah, I think the West Side and is generally not had much of a voice and needs it and wants it. But yeah, Gwen Grant and the Urban League really have, I think, the majority of the voice from the African-American community side. So to me, this is a topic, this is something that, in the broad 4 bullets there, redistricting kind of fits into that if we like. And I think it sounds like something that has merit locally.
Just a real quick question. Does anybody know what is the, I guess the equivalent of the Urban League for the Hispanic people?
I think there's a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. There's, I'm leaving out people. Guadalupe Center, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, but I don't know that it has the same function. Maybe it does.
I don't know if they're
Okay.
parallel in organization. I'm not sure.
I was just curious if anybody knew of a equally representative organization.
They are active, and I know that we had some earlier things a year or 2 ago. I was a little more closely involved with them. They're a very excellent group. There's lots of solid voices there. I think it's a matter of just finding out how we make alliance. But as far as redistricting on a national level, to me, one of the things that is kind of a given is we're about to get through this cycle, and depends on what kind of lawsuits and so forth come out of it with regard to gerrymandering and that sort of thing. But to me, if the redistricting process is likely to surface problems about gerrymandering and so forth, I think then it'll be the sort of the effect after this cycle in next year and beyond, where people are pushing back on what happened or formulating new approaches to dealing with the problem. So it's not going to go away as a topic. It just, because we've hit our decennial point here, I think is only going to probably stir up more issues. So as an item, it's still in all its forms, local and national, still is going to be a key topic.
Well,
Because-
redistricting always affects voting rights.
Absolutely. And representation,
Right. So, you know, they're kind of, you can't really divorce them one from the other.
not at all, not at all. So, okay, so I think between now and obviously May, I think the conversation is going to be, how do we go about looking at the local city council form and the charter issues that associate with that. And then, you know, if there's anything more to say up from the national level with regard to how we attack that, I think that gets refined as we go towards May. And anybody who knows more about this than I do, please say so. I'm interested in input from anybody.
Well, from my understanding, Missouri's pretty much leaving the national congressional districts as it is.
That's my understanding as well.
So there's going to be 2 Dems and 6 Republicans,
Right.
just like it is now.
Although they sort of veered towards 7 and 1 for a bit, but I think they pulled back from that.
Okay, that I'm glad to hear you see that too.
Yeah. The other question, I guess, was, you know, do we recommend another program item? And I think it's in addition to, and I think this one about city council is one. Are there other topics that we need to take a look at and would have committees and leads to look into?
Do you know, was anything submitted?
Submitted.
We could submit suggestions, and I didn't know if Anne received any, and if she did, if she passed them on. So I'm thinking not.
Well, let's see. Are you seeing this Word document? You probably aren't. Greg Woodhams sent through something here. See if I can share this. Not that we want you to read all of that set up, but he says 3 provisions in particular on a state level around the For the People Act: early voting, getting rid of voter purging, and voter caging, which is, according to this guy here, the challenge the eligibility from individuals who are not election officials without an oath of good faith actual basis. I'm not sure what that means. So this is a voter-based things out of the For the People.
Yes.
Act. He wants to zoom in on
Yes. He's that's his specialty.
it.
I did
Okay,
not realize there was a name, voter caging. I did not realize that
that's not a term I'd heard before.
had a new term. Yeah, it's a new thing.
I can read you a definition of it.
Please.
I just Googled it. Voter caging involves challenging the registration status of voters and calling into question the legality of allowing them to vote. Usually it involves sending mail directly to registered voters and compiling a list from mail returned undeliverable.
Which is, of course, exactly what the election board does as part of their function. Interesting. Well, you know, it's just, so it's another look over the shoulder process, right?
Yeah, I don't really see that as a study per se. I think it's just more or less checking on what they're doing. I don't know how you'd make a study of that.
I don't either. I mean, to me, the For the People Act was probably pretty thorough in terms of touching all the issues that would be seen as either inhibiting or suppressing or intimidating the vote. So I'm not sure what you would do with this. I get the fact that these things are pretty onerous and pretty much of a problem with free voting, but there are a lot of such issues. So you know, I'm not sure what we would do with that, to be honest. But
Well-
you mentioned, go ahead.
Well, the thing about a study is someone has to be willing to lead it, and it's a lot of hours. I was very involved in the TIF study, and we spent every other week for 3 months on it. Had speakers in, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we came up with a really good product, but it's not. So I'm not sure how this would work.
Well, MJ, you're absolutely right. You know, A, we need a leader, and B, we need a group of people that
Mhm.
really, it's going to be a bunch of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of research that goes on, because I was on the TIF committee too, and it's a lot of
Right.
research.
Right. And you really have to set up the problem statement at the beginning. You know, what are we intending to really address in some detail? You have to be clear about a scope before you even start getting into a study with an idea of what the outcome needs to be. And then you've got to go grind through it and get the work done. So, you know, it isn't to say that these things aren't a potential, but I think you really have to look into what do you think you would get when you were done.
Well, and my theory is that there's lots of groups, different groups working on these kind of items. So, you know, I don't think we need to invent the wheel, personally.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in anybody's, you know, concerns in that regard. The other thing was,
Could I just add one thing, Sandy?
yes,
Regarding Greg's items, I'm not sure if there's anything the local league could do. It seems like that would be something that if the state league wanted to get involved in, they would handle that, since it has to do with state voting laws.
right. Yeah, it's a John Ashcroft kind of item in a way. Yeah, Riva and Nancy El Centro and Dos Mundos. Yeah, Mundos. I'm not sure on those, but yeah. Yeah, there's a whole coalition of Hispanic Latinx
Mhm.
activists. The other one that came through, and this was Riva, this was from you. You'd had some items in here.
I just had some questions about some of the stuff I was reading. You know, and they're not, I don't know how important they are. I had questions about human resources, the Human Relations Commission. It said that they don't have any enforcement, which I thought was odd, but then later down in the bullets, they said they could enforce through the court. So I was just confused about the wording on that.
Mhm. Zoning.
The zoning, the only thing I thought was an update, this was a really old position, and they said these notifications for the zoning had to be put into a paper. And you know, who gets the paper? So I didn't know if we needed to update online, digital, that the notifications had to go through, you know, other than paper that of a general distribution. It seemed kind of vague, but these are just comments about the actual wording.
For that, I mean, I think there is still a requirement to post these things legally in a paper. And
Okay.
I don't know that they've changed. I mean, this is for anything, for bids, you know, for
Okay,
work and that kind of thing. I think that's still in there. And I don't know if on public procurement of anything, if they've widen the platform?
Okay,
That's a good question, though, just as a matter of process.
yeah.
City charter, nonpartisan committee, we talked about that. Finance mentions reduction in utility tax. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just asking what that was. It said, I don't, they just said the reduction of their utility tax, and I thought, okay, that's great, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I have no answer for you on
Yeah,
that.
that's all right. I just thought I'd throw that out there, because those were just things, like I said, that were, I just didn't quite understand, so.
Sure. That was the answer to the question of what was submitted. Any other thoughts, ideas we ought to tackle here?
I had a question, and this would be for the National League. With the filibuster being in the news so much, I couldn't see that the league has a national position on supporting or opposing the filibuster. There were a couple items in the impact on issues that mentioned cloture and that kind of thing. And I think it was at some 1974 budget reconciliation. I'm not going to be able to find it in my notes because my phone won't come on. It was this is an impact on issues, and it was the 1974 Budget Reform Act that the league apparently supported. And one of the things that did was to modify the Senate cloture rule. So I didn't know if there's an implicit position that the league has on the filibuster. And my question is that something we'd want to float up to the National League to, does the league want to be involved in that at all?
I think that's a great idea
Do.
to have a position on it. Yeah.
Kind of too late, too little, too late.
Yeah. Well, but our positions are just, where we stand. They don't
Right.
necessarily.
There is, I'm going to put this in the chat. That's the clearinghouse that you can search for work done by other leagues. And I've not used it, but to me, that would be the first thing I would do, would be search, go to that and do a little search and see if there is anything that alludes to the filibuster topic.
I just did, and there's quite a few links apparently to the National League on the filibuster. So they must be a position. Without looking further, I just saw that.
So all these things, obviously, the first thing to do is to do a search and see what the state of conversation or positions on any topic might be already. I seem to recall a few months back maybe it was paid family leave or paid leave, but it was seeing what California had out there, and they have a vast trove of studies and so forth that they work from. So lots of other leagues have done some really superior work. We just have to discover it. But filibuster I put down as a good, one of those things to take a look at and see if there's any there. Anything else that is along those lines, Pat? That's, to me, those are kind of the high leverage, broad impact kind of topics that really bear scrutiny these days. Love to see them get legs. Anything else from anybody? Nancy, you've been mighty quiet.
I'm relatively new to the organization, so I'm learning quite a bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Jenny, is the work you were doing on part of the Council for Neighborhoods group?
Yes,
I thought so.
I'm still chair of that, yes.
Good. Well, how about them Chiefs? Anyway,
What can we complete in 13 seconds?
Yeah, we need Mahomes.
Really, study, we don't need no stinking study, just do it. That was still, my wife is not a giant football fan, but this season she is.
Yeah,
We scared our dog to death at the end of that game.
yeah.
Yelling.
I know. I screamed. Honestly, I am such an extrovert. I was like, no, before I even I'm like, wait, did it just happen? And then they were talking about it. I was like, oh my God, I reacted before I really knew what had happened.
Just astonishing, just astonishing.
Well, I'm not a real big NFL football person, but I did see the last quarter of that game.
Yeah,
And
That's all
it
you need
was
to know.
something.
yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I'm with you. I'm not a football fan, but Mr. Mahomes has at least turned me into a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Not that, I mean, I always was supported the Chiefs, but
Did you see where $255,000 has been donated from Kansas City to the Children's Hospital
great.
in,
Children's Mercy, you mean?
no, to the Buffalo.
Buffalo,
oh yeah.
See,
Josh Allen's charity.
yeah, Josh Allen's charity. Uh-huh.
Fantastic. That's for making that good call on the coin toss, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And he will regret the rest of his life.
Well, I read somewhere that he was 9-0 on coin tosses before this game.
Oh, really?
He'll probably never say tails again. He'll always be here.
Well, until Heads burns him, and then
Well, Mahomes still lives down the street from me until they finally get into their new house, but
oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, he's right at state line in 57th. So,
Aren't they moving up north?
yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, it's a little bit larger house, although the one they've got is fairly nice, but
I
I
bet.
thought they were moving to the lake way south of town, down by Belton or something.
Oh, south.
What's
Okay.
that? Big.
I live up north, and there's a house. I mean, a lake with a lot of nice homes on it. Wrist Lake. Yeah,
Yes.
but even those are out. He can do better.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard he's going to Loch Lloyd. Is that the one?
That's what I heard. Yes.
yeah, that sounds right. Right. Well, gosh, if we've gotten to the Chiefs, we must be run out of,
Well, that's very timely and topical, though.
yes. Yeah, as you say, I mean, and MJ, you're right. I mean, we're sort of coming around to being more regular fans simply because they're fun to watch. And I will say this, it's never seemed like there have been so deeply involved in the community as this recent few years.
Patrick,
Patrick and Kelsey and Matthew and the rest of them have really become embedded in the community in a nice way. And to me, that's the best part of pro sports in the town is what do they look like in the community.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
doing well in that regard.
Tyreek Hill had turned his fine around and supporting the homeless and
Yep.
raised
Exactly.
money for that. So, yeah.
I volunteer at Literacy KC and Kelsey. We rent from Operation Breakthrough, and so he bought the muffler shop just to the north of their. When Breakthrough went across the street and grabbed the old Jones store a couple of years ago, and we moved into that. He bought the muffler shop next to that and donated $1 million to have that rebuilt as a sort of a trades thing and another extension of Operation Breakthrough. So,
Oh, I didn't know.
just direct impact for the things they're doing.
Cool.
This
Excellent.
foundation is 87 and running is the name of it.
Oh, really?
Well, it's been nice seeing you guys. Is there anything else?
I think we can leave.
Okay, all right.
You did a nice
Come
job,
on.
Sandy. We got through it. Did you have a
Thank
form
you.
to fill out or anything?
We'll see you soon.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.